Hello, welcome to Black Friday with Brittany. Today is April 17th, 2020, and I hope you guys are staying safe, staying inside. That is the best way to stay safe. And if you're going outside, I hope that you're going outside with gloves and a mask and taking a shower and lysoling yourself when you get inside and all the other precautions that you should be taking when you go outdoors. So with coronavirus really taking its toll on America and has already done a lot of damage all over the world and is continuing to do so, I want to focus again on health. So last week I posted a video titled How Coronavirus is Killing Black People More Than Any Other Race. And I found some very disturbing things while I was doing my research. One of them was about the pollution. I found that 71% of African Americans versus 58% of white Americans live in communities that violate federal air pollution standards. And that to me was kind of odd. I felt like, that kind of sucks. Why is that? So why is America violating federal air pollution standards in more black communities than white communities? And the answer is, I don't know. I'm not sure exactly what the answer is, but the result is very deafening about this issue. So I'm going to refer to an article that I found over on InsideClimateNews.org. It's titled, EPA Finds Black Americans Face More Health-Threatening Air Pollution. And this is very scary. Black Americans are subjugated to higher levels of air pollution than white Americans, regardless of their wealth. Researchers with the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency conclude. Researchers at the EPA's National Center for Environmental Assessment looked at facilities emitting air pollution, as well as at the racial and economic profiles of surrounding communities. They found that Black Americans were exposed to significantly more of the small pollution particles known as PM 2.5, which have been associated with lung disease, heart disease, and premature death. Most such sooty pollution comes from burning fossil fuels. So, you can imagine how disturbed I was when I discovered this, considering that what are the things that people are at high risk for coronavirus typically have? And they happen to be heart disease, respiratory diseases, asthma. So, when I really thought about this, I really kind of started to think a little bit more about all these theories, conspiracy theories, more so. If you see something moving, that's because my son is underneath here. He does not want to allow me to put him down today and just film this. So I figured, once again, forget it. I'm not going to fight it. I'm just going to film with him. So, so I was very disturbed about this news, and I kind of thought to myself, all these conspiracy theories that you hear about how they're like trying to kill black people, right? Trying to kill us. And this just kind of spoke a little bit to that narrative for those who truly believe these conspiracy theories. I mean, why would you violate federal air pollution laws in communities where it typically affects black people, regardless of their wealth? I don't understand that. But I'll go on because there were some more things that I found interesting. Blacks were exposed to 1.54 times more of this form of pollution particles, no larger than 2.5 microns that lodge in lung tissue, than the population at large. Poor people were exposed to 1.35 times more, and all non-whites to 1.28 times more, according to the study. So, again, this is very disturbing. The new study from EPA researchers confirms that race, not poverty, is the strongest predictor of exposure to health-threatening particulate matter, especially for African Americans, said Robert Bullard, a professor of urban planning and environmental policy and administration of Justice at Texas Southern University, who was not involved in the research. This is very interesting to me, because when I think about the coronavirus and what's really happening and how it's killing Black people more than any other race, I start to think about why. Why is it doing that? And that question led me to the fact that, well, 7 deadly diseases kill us more than any other race. Heart disease is actually the number 1 killer of all races in America, I think in the world, if I'm not mistaken. And that to me is very scary and very interesting. Heart disease does attack Black people more than any other race, but even then, among all races, it's the number 1 issue. So this is a really big issue amongst all races. However, the ways in which we are acquiring or obtaining, getting this illness is being predisposed to conditions that pretty much are going to give it to us. Now, we can look at genetics, we can look at health and what we put in our body, which ideally, that's where a lot of it comes from. Obesity, the number 1 reasons for heart disease is high blood pressure, obesity, and diabetes. According to, I believe this information came from, and I'll put it on the bottom, but this is from the American Heart Association. So it's credible resources, credible facts here that we're looking at, or credible sources, if you will, that this is the main issue. This is a really big issue, and I don't know, I really kind of want to dig deeper into this and kind of do a little bit more research about what this pollution is, why they are allowing pollution to be violated, or pollution laws, I obviously cannot talk today, why they're allowing pollution laws to be violated in areas where Black communities thrive. And what is this about it not being about wealth? Because one would begin to think that, okay, so those are kind of more poverty stricken in the Black community probably live in areas, which that's another statistic that I did discover. They live in areas in which, they're more inclined to get these kind of this pollution or come across this issue. But to find that it's not just those communities, that it's Black people overall, I mean, how are they doing that? How does that happen? Is there something that we have that makes us more predisposed to it in terms of our bodies, the way that we are designed? I don't know. To me, it's very interesting. I do know that another thing I discovered through WebMD, because that's where I got this information, regarding asthma and the pollution. Where was it at? Let's see here. Bear with me for 2 seconds while I try to find this very quickly for you guys. Here we are. So, yeah, it says when we look at African Americans in terms of demographic distribution, they are more likely to be located near, if not next to, transportation corridors and to places where the air is drawn. Another reason is that a higher percentage of Black Americans than white Americans live close to toxic waste dumps and to the factories that produce this waste. So, this is something to really look into. How pollution is killing Black people, how it's making us get these diseases at a faster rate, how it's no longer just about what we're putting in our bodies in terms of food, in terms of cigarettes, smoke, toxins that we put into our bodies. Now it becomes, well, how do they do this? How do they zone things to where somehow, strategically or not strategically, we don't know, they are able to actually increase our killing rate or dying rate, our death rate, by violating these federal air pollution laws. I don't know. I wish I could actually sit down with somebody who worked for like the the EPA, and I could sit there and ask them, like, what is it that's happening? How is this happening exactly to where we are being affected greater, faster than white people? And why is it that it's not even just that we're getting affected greater or quicker, it's that they are strategically, I feel like strategically, I think I can say that, violating federal air pollution laws in areas where Black people are going to be affected, and they're not doing the same thing in white areas. So it's not like white people have some kind of immunity to it that we don't, or they're more used to it. It's that they're not having this issue, they're not exposed as often, as frequently as Black people. I don't know. And then I'm curious about this whole thing where it talks about where it has nothing to do with wealth, it's simply just race. So I don't know. I mean, I guess they could do that in communities where upper middle class, Black people are still predominant, where there's not as many white people. I'm sure there's a lot of communities, even though I can't really think of now. Queens, I guess, could be an area. There's areas where there's a lot of Black upper middle class people. I don't know, but I find this very interesting. But the crazy thing is that what it boils down to is that now that there's a pandemic, COVID-19, that is killing us at a faster rate than any other race, how did we get here? And this is part of how we got here, is that obviously pollution had a little bit to do with how we got these respiratory diseases, because I do know people who are not smokers who really don't have a history of heart disease. Like, they're the first in their family, and yet they discovered recently that they have heart disease. And the doctors went and said, well, we think that there's something that, like a birth defect, that we didn't catch when you were younger. And this person is like 45 now, maybe almost 50. And interesting, it makes you wonder, did he have a birth defect? Does he really have a birth defect? Or is he one of the ones who is somehow predisposed to pollution that caused an illness that he really shouldn't even have? Is he in the best health? I don't know. He doesn't look like he's unhealthy, but things can look great on the outside and not so great on the inside. So we don't really know. But I also know that he's not somebody who's like sitting there eating fried chicken every day and a bunch of carbs, mashed potatoes, and greasy, fatty foods all day. I don't know. It makes you wonder though. It really does. And I really kind of want to get a little bit more into this and see what I can discover. Again, like I said, I would love to talk to somebody who has more knowledge, more education on this topic that I could really sit down and discuss this with and find out like what's really going on. So yeah, we really need to be better aware of the conditions that we are under that cause these illnesses. High blood pressure is something that facilitates heart disease. Obesity is something that facilitates heart disease. We are a very obese country overall. We are a very obese race. So unfortunately, I feel like we have glorified being thick, and being thick is not necessarily healthy for you or your body. And so while you don't necessarily have to be a stick thin person, definitely make sure that you're not putting your body at risk for diabetes, for a stroke in the future, for heart disease. Your body should have a certain body mass index. Make sure that you're kind of within that. Eat healthy. I hope that people are going to change their lifestyles after this pandemic. I hope this pandemic has led people to stop and think like, I really need to take better care of my health, because that is what those people are the ones who this illness or a virus attacked. It's not so much the healthy people, the marathon runners. Though healthy people did also get it, so don't get me wrong. Basketball players from the NBA got it, so obviously anybody can get it. But we also don't know what was going on with their immune system at the time that they acquired this virus. I keep saying acquire as if it was like a good thing, and it's not a good thing. Phoenix, are you alright down there? He's knocked down. Knocked out, but won't let me put him down. Anywho, so, yeah, that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed this little bit of education. Sorry, my video was a little bit choppy today. My new son, my lovely addition to my life, has been throwing me off a little bit. Life is not as easy to get things done as it once was, but I hope you're enjoying the knowledge that I'm giving you. I hope you share it. I hope you really allow this information to sink in. Like my lovely video, subscribe to my YouTube channel, share it. It's good information. I swear things are going to only get better from here. I'm going to learn a lot. That's another thing I realized about having this channel, and I'm glad I'm wrapping up now because he's no longer happy, is that I'm learning so much just looking up all this information in ways that I can help our community, help Black people rise to the top. So, love you. Thank you so much for checking it out, and take care.